Hey, let's go to Pete Snyder. Pete, the chairman of Disruptor Capital. Pete also is very involved in the Republican Party of Virginia. He'll be at the Advance. Pete was the former finance chairman of the Republican Party of Virginia when it was in dire straits, and he saved it financially, if you will, did the ultimate turnaround. Pete also ran for lieutenant governor in 2013 and finished second in the convention to E.W. Jackson, and will be joining us this week at the Advance. Pete, good to have you with us.
Johnny, great to be with you, my friend.
Well, we're fired up. I'm in a good mood because the Fräulein is coming tomorrow to spend the weekend with me, so I'm very excited about that. That's why I'm in a very good mood today. As you can tell, of course, that might not be an everyday occurrence, but look, a lot of
Johnny, I got to tell you, I'm excited to see the Fräulein as well. Everyone is. They all prefer her to you. I mean, it's just a known truth in Virginia politics. But, are you really having me on the air after you went on some ridiculous big government screed about, like, government-funded trains and higher transportation taxes? I mean, Johnny, for crying out loud, all last year, God bless you, you nailed it. You called the Trump movement early. You've supported them the entire way through. Everyone said that you were wrong, and you proved to be right. And I was so heartened by that because in years past, all you did was shill for whatever big tax, big government, item that was put up for you. So, you owe it to your president-elect, you owe it to your listeners to get off the big government bandwagon, Johnny. You got to cut that stuff.
Look, we're not on the
crack cocaine. You got to stop.
I'm setting the stage for President-elect Trump's big infrastructure, $1.1 billion plans coming down the pike. So I'm setting the stage for that. Coupled with the fact is I like roads and trains, right? I want roads and I want trains. I like shovels and barrels, and I love putting people to work. So I'm all about that. Not really big government, but I got to tell you, I spent a lot of time in Florida when I was at the Daytona Beach News Journal, and John Mica was our congressman. I covered him. He was a thorn in my side because he was always trying to cut Amtrak funding, and so I'd have to write editorials every month blasting him on it. So now he's out, so I don't have to deal with that. But let's get to the Advance, okay? This is pretty exciting. I mean, I feel energy. All these candidates are running. There's going to be some great hospitality suites. But, Republicans descending at the Omni, I know you're going to be there. And Gillespie getting some immediate momentum here. He just got the endorsement of chairman of the Tea Party Patriots, Rick Buchanan. That came from nowhere. I mean, Gillespie has really done a good job, Pete, in going around the state and tying down, a lot of very legitimate conservative leaders. I mean, it's pretty impressive. He also yesterday got one of my dear friends, Senator Dick Black, with him. So what do you make of this whole thing?
John, I think it's like no one's worked harder in Virginia politics over the past 4 or 5 years to elect conservatives up and down the ticket, from the smallest office to the highest office, than Ed Gillespie. So, I'm not surprised at all. I'm heartened by the fact that we have so many people from the grassroots conservative movement, from, every single faction of the Republican Party. And as you well know, John, there are 1,000,001 factions in the Virginia Republican Party coming out to support Ed Gillespie. Dick Black is a man that I think a lot of, and so many do across the Commonwealth. Same thing with Rick Buchanan. These are two of the probably the best conservative leaders that you can get in your corner if you're running for office or you're trying to create any kind of conservative change out there. And they signed on board with Ed. And, I know firsthand we're going to see a lot more from every single part of the Republican Party hopping on board with Ed. And, it's because he has the right ideas and the right experience. He's a guy who has spent his 35-plus years toiling in our conservative movement. Everything from, working in conservative campaigns to, being right there with Dick Armey and Newt Gingrich and helping to craft the contract with America, to making sure that our bench across America, through his work with RSLC, that we were picking off state legislators, not only in Virginia and running up the score on the Democrats in Virginia, but across the country. you see those stats about how poorly Barack Obama and the Democratic Party did over the past 8 years, and they really got clobbered in state legislators across America, including in Virginia. A lot of that has to do with the work of Ed Gillespie. So no one's worked harder, and I think he's going into advance, at least from my purview, with a head of steam. These campaigns are tough. They're not just done by endorsements, but he has a huge grassroots following and a hell of a lot of momentum going into advance.
Well, he's certainly done a good job at getting a lot of conservatives around the state that people know and trust their judgment behind him. Look, there's no question about that. And you look at this race, Pete, and a lot of these people you would have thought would have went with Corey Stewart. I had Rick Buchanan on at the 7 o'clock hour. Rick was part of remember the 2013 campaign, the middle resolution, and all the Tea Party groups got together and said, look, we're going to have this paperwork to fill out. We're going to back one candidate. And you came in second, I believe. They gave their
by 5 votes, Johnny. I mean,
5 votes. I know they gave it to
by 5 votes. So
I know.
Yep. I think very fondly of Rick, and I thought that was a great process they put together.
And I believe had you gotten 3 of the 5 people, as that's all you had to have, and turned in and won that thing, I thought you would have been the nominee. But this is what I asked him. You endorsed Stewart in 2013, running for governor, Corey Stewart. What changed your mind? And he didn't really answer it, but not a lot of enthusiasm there for Stewart. And look, I just got to tell you, Pete, the fact that Corey Stewart got fired from the Trump campaign, this is a big deal. And, it's not that he got fired because, he was trying to do – he got fired because he didn't do anything that we asked him to do. That's why he got fired. That's why he got fired. And a lot of the
So you're telling me that he, his sole job is to help win Virginia for Trump and help the Trump campaign, and he wasn't able to do that?
I'm telling you that he got fired.
He didn't want to help. You can't lay the blame of Virginia at anyone's feet. But people are laying at your feet. But that said, you worked your tail off every single day to try to make sure that you were advancing the ball for that ticket, and lo and behold. We have a new president-elect of the United States.
Look, there's got to be an accounting for this, okay? Because when I was vice chair, co-chair, or chairman, I had one objective. Every day that anything came down the pike for my candidate who I loved, okay, and I believed in the movement, was how do I get more votes in Virginia for Donald Trump? Now, not who's going to run for governor, how do I get votes in the governor's race, how do I get votes for this attorney general, who's on the dais, who's got VIP tickets, who's sitting behind Trump, who are the donors that are going to help some candidate. It was how do we get votes for Trump in Virginia to have an opportunity to get these 13 electoral votes, which could have been decisive in a different scenario. It turned out it didn't matter, but it could have been decisive. And look, there has got to be an accounting for the fact that Corey Stewart didn't operate in the same fashion that other people did, and he got fired. And so you just can't make believe this didn't happen. And at some point, as this campaign goes forward, that candidate is going to have to answer for that. Just like Ed Gillespie's going to have to answer for stuff that people have questions on, Senator Wagner, et cetera. There's going to have to be an accounting for things.
Well, Johnny, I wholeheartedly agree with you. And look, you were right there in the front lines in dealing with Corey and then having to clean up the mess afterwards. As you said before, this is a fluid, race for governor in 2017. You have 4 candidates now. We may have 3. We may have 4. Who knows? So it's not just about one or 2 campaigns. I do think it's a very interesting contrast. Everything that you and Trump, core people who were working their tails off for Donald Trump and Mike Pence in Virginia, what I hear from them is it's just a big difference between what Corey did in a self-serving way, for at least that's what people say, ended up getting fired. He attacked Reince Priebus, who's now going to be the incoming chief of staff, saying that the RNC wasn't doing enough and what it was, they were establishment pukes when on election night, Donald Trump heralded Reince Priebus as being a hero. And Sean Spicer, who's a good Virginian and a longtime supporter of the cause and the movement in Virginia, Those guys worked their tails off, and Corey Stewart, just for his own, press, tried to attack him like 2 weeks, 3 weeks before election, and then got himself fired. You contrast that with the 35 years plus of Ed Gillespie, and you got to include Kathy Gillespie because she's been just a terrific conservative warrior over the years. They selflessly work their tails off to elect Republicans and conservatives up and down the ballot, not only in Virginia but across the country. That's a big contrast. Your listeners are smart supporters of our president-elect and Mike Pence, and you'll see this in advance. They're smart. They can see through. Politicians, by and large, are in it for themselves. That's pretty transparent with Corey. I dealt with it when I ended up beating him in 2013. We both got beat by E.W. Jackson, but it was a knife fight down at the end, and there was all sorts of shenanigans that went on, and Corey will do and say anything just to get elected. So all that stuff tends to rise to the surface, and I think it's why he ended up cratering in 2013. And he went out there and raised taxes in Prince William and jacked up fees, and all that stuff comes to light. You're a great beacon of the truth, Johnny. If there's accountability that's needed, I know that you're going to be on it, and conservative leaders like Rick Buchanan are going to be on it. Dick Black. It's far too important. The momentum that we have with really starting over the past year, culminating on election night. Now that we have a reform-minded disruptor president-elect, also Mike Pence, and we control both chambers of Congress and the General Assembly, we need someone in office who can help make sure that change is effected properly. And, Ed Gillespie has friends up and in all over the place because he helped elect probably 50% of Congress and a majority there, and probably 100% of our General Assembly. So I can think of no one better to be a partner with our president-elect, and also our vice president-elect. Ed and Mike Pence are very, very close to make sure Virginia is moving in the right direction. That's what we need in our movement. That's what we need in our Commonwealth.
Well, look, the bottom line is this, the truth will set you free at the end of the day. And I was involved, as you know, in the Trump campaign from before it started, dating back to January of 2015 when he was thinking about announcing. And when I went up there and told him that they could win. But here's the bottom line. I want to say this on the record. As a vice chairman, co-chairman, or chairman of Virginia Trump campaign, there was nothing I ever asked New York for that I didn't receive. Nothing. Mm-hmm. Zero. Everything I asked them to do, they did. Everything. So we lost. It's not because, I didn't get the money or we didn't get this or that. So for somebody to go around and saying, well, the RNC didn't do this, or this person didn't do that, or this person's a puke, the bottom line is everything we asked for within reason, we got. Even the $2 million at the end. We had the two Trump rallies at the end. We had him in the state all the times we asked him. We had him to Radford. I mean, we had him wherever we asked him. We got everything we needed. And look, I couldn't pull it off. I'm not going to blame anybody. It was just a tough environment. But look, we're almost out of time, but I want to have you back on because somebody's got to tell me how you're going to win the state. And we don't have time for that now, but maybe we can get the advance, talk that a little bit, Pete, and have you on next week. I look forward to seeing you this week. Now, I got one question. Is your wife coming?
Unfortunately, Burson is not coming. She is the outgoing president of the Bellhaven Women's Club, and the big Hootenanny Christmas party is on Saturday night, and she has to preside over that. So we are going to be taking care of our respective business, and but she gives you the best. Baby B gives you the best, and we'll hopefully all see you out on the campaign trail in the weeks and months ahead, Johnny. I can't wait for you because, look, for me, it is the first time in 4 years that I haven't had my own hospitality suite. So I think I'm going to join you and the Fraulein, and we're going to go tasting. We're going to do a tasting tour of the hospitality suites But you got to go to and I hope that you and the Fraulein, you're cordially invited to the United Ed Gillespie cocktail party and reception on Friday night. It's going to be exciting. It's over at Cabana. We have an indoor roof. It should be terrific. And all the conservative leaders that you talked about and that are coming out of and endorsing Ed are going to be there. It's going to be a lot of momentum, and we got a lot of wares for you to taste over there, buddy. So let's do it.
All right, well, I'm looking forward to that, and as well as the other suites. And just before you go, Glenn from Chesapeake texted in and said, ask Pete if he thinks the Republicans in Congress will fight for Trump's nominees. Pete, you have a half a minute.
Absolutely, without a doubt. There is an energy in our party unlike anything that I've seen really in my generation. I think he's making excellent choices from the EPA to defense to you name it. So, yes, Congress is going to be in there, and they better be battling. Trust me, they better be battling. And I have a feeling that Paul Ryan knows that, and he wants to work very closely with Reince Priebus and Mike Pence and our President-elect Donald Trump, and we're going to get things done.